in building a new India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nishar, for sharing those reflections with us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my absolute honor to invite on stage Mr. Chandrasekaran, our chief guest, to address the audience. As we all know, Mr. Chandrasekaran is the chairman of India's largest conglomerate with interest in everything from salt, cars, technology. I have one more line to go. He has a bird's eye view of not just today, but also tomorrow. Thank you, sir. Please, all yours.
Good morning. Atul Nishar, President of TiE Mumbai, Debjani Ghosh, President NASSCOM, other members on the dais, board members of TiE, friends from business, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege and honor to have this opportunity to share a few thoughts this morning. Unexplored is a very, very broad topic. There are many things one can talk about. But considering the audience and my own personal background, I thought the most appropriate one would be to talk about what is unexplored in the digital world. Needless to say, that digital is making enormous impact in business, society, and world at large in the last decade, and more so in the last few years. The pace is picking up, and it's accelerating. And I don't have to tell you, digital is all about data. And the innovation is all about connecting more devices, connecting devices and humans, getting the data real time, and applying machine learning, AI, what have you. The more of these technologies are getting integrated, the more powerful ideas are emerging. And the possibilities every day is increasing enormously. But today, I thought I will focus specifically on India and what kind of digital innovation is required in India to solve our problems. India is complex, and India is also about scale. And we fundamentally have two problems in my mind. We can list a large number of issues, but fundamentally I believe there are two problems or challenges. And I also believe they are the most profound opportunities for all of you, all of us. What are those two problems? In a way, we are very unique in the entire world in having these two problems. The first one is about jobs. And the second one is about access. By access, what I mean is a vast majority of our countrymen do not have access to quality services, whether it is education, whether it is healthcare, whether it is financial services, and you can keep adding many more. In a manner of speaking, these two challenges are very complementary. Because if you manage to solve the problem of access, you will end up solving the problem of jobs. So you can't take two different directions in solving these two problems. If you go about solving the access problem without addressing the very nature of jobs, you will not be able to solve this problem. Not only that, you will not be able to attempt to solve the second problem. The core of finding a solution to both of these problems, in my mind, is the innovation at the boundaries. Rather, the innovation in the last mile. A digital innovation in the boundaries and digital innovation in the last mile. Let me explain what I mean, and that's going to be the main topic of my speech this morning. Before I come to the solution, it's important to understand the problem. So let me take a few minutes to explain the clear trends in jobs and why is it a challenging problem. And then let me do the same thing for access. Today, jobs is a hot topic. But I'm not talking about in today's context. The government has taken a number of steps and continuing to take a number of steps. But as we look into the future, we need to understand these trends very clearly. Let us start with our population. We are about 1.35 billion people. If we consider the age group between 15 and 60 as the working population, in India, that will approximately translate to 930 to 950 million people. And not only that, this population is growing. Between now and next 8 to 10 years, we will have an addition of another 160 million people into this group. That is when other large economies in the world, be it Brazil, be it United States, be it Germany, be it China, none of them in the same time period will add more than 20 million people. They are all from 10 to 20 million people. We will add 160 million people. So we have a large pool already. And then the second one, we are going to add another 160 million people into this pool. The third trend is, if you look at this pool, half of them are neither employed nor applying for jobs. That's about 450 million people, and we don't know why. We've got to figure that out in terms of how do we get them into the formal jobs. The next trend is almost 85% of this population, of this pool of almost billion people, are in informal or unorganized jobs. Only 15 million people are in organized jobs. Then if you look at the skill level of these people, if you look at the organized sector, if it's manufacturing, 60% of them have got a secondary education. If you take services sector, 95% of them have got a secondary or even a tertiary education. So all the skilled or educated people are more in this 15% pool. And most people in the 85% pool of informal or unorganized sectors are less skilled and less educated. Then if you look at the wages, the people in the organized sector get more or less paid 5 times more. And they have a job security for 12 months. And they have PF, they have health care, etc., etc. But if you look at the 85% people in the unorganized sector, A, their wages are low, B, they don't have PF, they don't have a security for 12 months. They'll be employed for some months of the year, not another months. It is not to say that they won't be doing something else, but it's not the same job that they'll be doing consistently for the entire year. And overall, if you take about 60% of these people have wages less than 10,000. That's the situation we have. So it is not so much that we have lack of jobs. We have jobs. The challenge is one of creating formal jobs and migrating people from informal to formal jobs. Getting people jobs with a decent pay. Getting people to jobs where they can have a decent quality of life. That is the fundamental problem. And that's why it requires a lot more thinking. Now you come to the access problem. The access situation is pretty much the same, industry by industry. We can take examples of healthcare, power sector, education, financial services. But I'm going to take the example of healthcare. If you take healthcare, we have one of the worst doctor-patient ratios. We have 0.7 doctors for every 1,000 patients, whereas in most developed economies, the number is 3 to 4 doctors per every 1,000 patients. Even in China, the number is more than double of our ratios. We have created a lot of capacity in primary healthcare by creating a lot of primary healthcare centers. But for the want of quality doctors, these primary health care centers don't make the impact that they should make. They don't have the desired results. As a result, what do we witness? We have all these patients coming from different parts of the country into the urban cities. So you take any hospital in Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, or any of the big cities, you can find the queues building up all the time. And our studies show that the doctors don't have time. And the average time spent by a doctor with a patient in a primary healthcare situation is less than 2 minutes. So access is a problem. So how do we solve this problem? Here, again, the situation or the solution is not about building more capacity. If we take the next 10 years, we can't produce more doctors. We cannot double, triple the capacity of doctors to move the needle from 0.7 to 2 or 3. It's not going to happen. So building more capacity is not the solution. Whereas that's where in every sector, a lot of focus is on building capacity. Whereas the opportunity is to get to a situation where we are making a significant impact in getting the optimum output out of the capacity that we already have. And that is what I call as innovation, digital innovation in the last mile. In the last 4 years, we did some very serious work in trying to understand how this whole system works, and started to do a time recording to see how the time of a doctor, a surgeon is spent. And what kind of a time that a patient spends in getting the treatment that the patient wants to get. And we found some amazing numbers, because the most common thing that you find is that that scarce resource spends a lot of time doing stuff which the person need not do, a person, lower person can do. So we started to see what kind of a digital intervention is possible. And we took 3 regions, one in Karnataka, one in Kulu, one in the Northeast. And we started to redo these primary health centers. And in the Northeast, we took cancer hospitals. But in the other 2 locations, we took primary health care. We looked at the workflows. We redefined the queues. We introduced digital in a big way. We introduced new roles like patient care coordinator, who is a digital person. And then we put a central digital infrastructure. We call it as a digital now center, which was staffed by skilled people at different levels. At the high end, we had specialist doctors, nurses, then we had technical people. And the idea was to connect all these hospitals and streamline the process so that every single patient went through the same process, all data is captured, so the doctor doesn't spend time finding out the basics. What we were able to find is, we were able to substantially change the time spent by the doctor, where the doctor had to spend only on activities that he or she needed to spend. And we were able to shift tasks to lower levels, and at the same time, using technology, we were able to empower the lower level staff to operate at higher level. I think there are 3 or 4 big things that happens. One is the scarce resource is most optimally utilized. then we are able to shift some of those tasks to lower levels, in the process bring up the productivity and the skill level of the next level, and identify new roles and new jobs that makes this whole delivery of healthcare cheaper, better, faster, and a great experience. And the waiting times have dramatically gone down. We have built models to see where does it take us? Where can it go? By looking at different industries, not only healthcare, we took 9 different industries. And what could the innovation in the last mile can produce? We very conservatively believe that it can create 30 million jobs. And it can provide access to at least 200 million more people. And not only that, as AI becomes more powerful, when I say more powerful, that when entrepreneurs like you start writing tools and algorithms based on deep learning, machine learning, and automation for different industries, it will dramatically shift the tasks at the higher level to lower level and free up critical resources. I think this kind of an innovation, I don't want to say more important, at least equally important as it is to start inventing and innovating solutions to cure diseases. Because we have the physical capacity today, what we have is what we have. This is not to say that don't build additional physical capacity. We'll never become a 100% digital world. And the physical capacities can never catch up because both time is not there and the capital will be hard to come by. So it is about building that digital interface and innovative solutions, industry by industry, which will solve this problem that will have a dramatic impact in India. I think that's the thought I wanted to share with you this morning. And this is one such area where we can explore to make both of our major problems go away in a period of time. Maybe not in few years, but definitely in a decade. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Chandrasekaran, for sharing your thoughts on digital innovation in the last mile. And I request Atulji to felicitate Chandrasekaran. Atulji will now felicitate Mr. Chandrasekaran. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a huge round of applause to our keynote speaker for today. All right. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we will now unveil the KPMG TiE report on startups. I request our dignitaries to please commence with the unveiling. I request the dignitaries to please step forward with the report so that we could have a group photo. Step forward.